It's a push, man. It's a push, man. That's really,
Yeah.
man. It's it takes you. Entrepreneurship takes you on a journey. It takes you on a very big journey, and that's what I'm finding. Like, but it's a very good journey though. But it's a long journey because you can feel success. Like, I feel ultra successful. I just
Yeah.
need I just need my bank account to mirror that now.
There you go. Well, the whole thing that you're talking about is that whole think and grow rich, because you've got to have that mentality.
Yeah.
So if you feel it, you will become it and work your way towards it.
Yeah.
Every single day, if you feel it on the inside,
Yeah.
So that's awesome. I always tell my wife, we're going to be rich. We're going to custom build our own home. That's what I tell her. And that's what I want. And I won't take any other way. And I think big. I ask myself, like, how can I make this much money? We're going to have to close this many deals, which means we're going to have to demo that many people.
Yeah. Simplifying it, man, so you can really put it out there to the universe. Visualization is man, it's also.
Yeah. You want to start this? We got some good shit going on here.
I did start the recording already, actually. Brahman, what's happening, brother?
Oh, brother, you know what's happening. We constantly working, hustling, grinding towards our goal, towards our end game. That's what we're doing. And that's the only way that I like doing it. How about you?
Yeah, man, same thing, grinding, hustling. And, the one word you use there specifically is end game, man. I love to have an end game in mind. Anytime we get to working towards, when we're working towards a task, I think too many of us go and we're moving to a beat, but we don't know when the song is going to end, or where the song is taking us, or where this map is taking us. So working with an end game in mind and understand what that end game looks like for us.
You've got to have that end game. Other than that, you're just going to get lost somewhere along the road. Imagine writing a story and you had no idea like how it was going to end. And then the story just got out of control. That reminds me of Game of Thrones, how they couldn't give that a decent finale. There was no end game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
That happened way too quick. Like stabbed Daenerys, Jon Snow. We'll do it in 2 episodes. But that's a good analogy there. And the fans really didn't like that. That wasn't the fitting finale. So visualize the end game from day one.
Yeah. You can always tell. It's like, oh, you guys are just going to drag this out, but now you got to put it into it. Sorry.
No, it's all good.
It's like, oh, man, there was a series I was watching on Netflix. Netflix. This is like a year ago. I can't remember the name of it, but it just ended. And I'm like, that ended, so I had to Google it because I was like, dude, that was the weirdest way that this thing started wrapping up, and it wrapped up really quick. I thought it was going to go on.
How many seasons?
It was only like 2 seasons, and the second season was like 5 episodes or something like that. So I was like, what's going on? So I go and it's like, oh, it got canceled.
Must be some contractual thing. They're still obligated to pay for 5 more episodes. Let's have a 5-episode season to get this thing over with.
But check this out. The show was so good though. So it was about a guy. This might trigger a memory what it is. It was about a guy, and he ends up sending these people back in time, and you think these people are like terrorists, but they're going back to stop certain things from happening. But they're actually, in the end, when it comes wrap around, they're actually the good people, because they actually he sent them back to stop himself, because everything he set up was just led the world to destruction, because he was this genius. So he sent them back when he was a kid, and they're like trying to like kill him, but they don't kill him. So one person's protecting them, and then everybody else is like trying to kill him, and it just works out that everything works out well. Isn't that bizarre?
What was the name of that series?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I tell you, I really don't know, but it was going on. I'm like, man, this is a good show, because it was so many different things.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Traveling back in time. Do you believe that's possible? Do you believe that somehow at some point we are going to be able to travel back in time,
Um,
back to the future in a DeLorean?
I don't know, man. I've gave you my theory off of time, off of air. I don't think time exists, man. I think it's all in the moment. That's why, like, even
Yeah.
when we were talking about before, I think we recorded some of it, but like Think and Grow Rich, right? If I'm
Yeah.
able to think it, it's just gonna happen. I feel like it's happening. You know, you're just being. You're not becoming anything. You're just being. A lot of times when Yahshua was teaching, he would say, be, be, be. He would never say, that's Jesus for those that might not be familiar with that name, Esau. Um, um, he's saying be, do. It's not like, hey, becoming. So I've always wanted to say, uh, time is not really real. So, I mean, yes, in the sense that, you're traveling back to something that's not real. I think we talked about a little bit last episode too, with the power of now and being in the present. The present is all that.
Yeah.
Well, so I guess,
Time is a very interesting thing.
yeah. So I guess you could travel back in your mind. I mean, if you got a couple of people that want to relive previous scenarios, but I would say, for a moment, if you're trying to travel back to travel forward, that don't tend to work out. So,
Yeah. No, yeah.
what do you think about time travel?
Can I ask you something? Do you believe in aliens? Beings in outer space other than life? Do you believe there's intelligent life out there?
Do I believe there's extraterrestrial life, like life outside of this planet? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, yeah, of course.
Well, yeah, there you go. It's not always, of course, but for you, I'm glad that you do. Because one theory about aliens, and this, maybe this doesn't prove that there's extraterrestrials, or maybe it does. One theory about aliens and like alien spacecrafts, and I don't know if I believe it or not, but it kind of opened up my mind to a completely different perspective, is that aliens are actually us, human beings, traveling back in time to try to prevent something. That's the theory I heard.
Mm.
And it kind of just blew my mind. Because you see these spaceships, you see this. Imagine like 500 years from now, civilization comes to an end, where something crazy happens that really changes the course of humanity. If we somehow had the technology to go back in time and prevent it, wouldn't we try to do it? Why wouldn't we? We're always pushing the technology. If we could do it, we would. So
Yeah.
imagine that, like, going back to what you said about time, that like time has already played out somehow. And now we've had people from the future coming back trying to change history. And to us, they look like aliens because these crafts are in and whatnot. What do you think about that?
I think that's pretty interesting at several levels. I mean, if you from one level, just the theory of time travel, and maybe someone trying to come back and change something that is unchangeable. I mean, just because we think one thing cause, the law of cause and effect, like just because we think one thing is happening result of the other, that's all in your mind, right? I mean, who's to say, like, let's say me and you getting, we wouldn't, but let's say me and you getting a fight at a picnic, and then somebody that's on the outside perceives to say, oh, I'm the one that caused that, so I mean, you're going to be coming back, and would it really change that? So from that level, so that's just theory, but I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that so much as far as us coming back, but I mean, if it's right, it's right, but
It's just a theory because you
yeah. I
talked
don't know.
about traveling back in time. So I just thought
Yeah,
I'd throw that theory in there because that kind of, it
so
just opened up my mind to something new.
you're saying that is it you're saying it's future human beings, or it's human beings that are present on the earth right now, but they're they're actually not local and they're coming back to try to change time?
I'm saying the theory is
Uh-huh.
that it's us, but maybe hundreds or thousands of years from now, we came back into time to
Oh,
prevent something.
okay.
So if you thought that theory was true, and I'm not saying that it is, I'm just saying that that was an interesting way to look at things. And
Yeah,
if that
no.
was true, that means that time has already progressed much further than where we are right now
Yes.
to have somebody come back into time.
Mm.
So I don't quite know how that works, but I mean, it's just something interesting to think about,
Yeah.
that if
Yeah.
that was true,
Well,
that'd
just
be a holy shit kind of moment.
I mean, the concept of time is fascinating. And I mean, honestly, we could probably go on and on like two philosophers with that just but it's like, can anybody really understand the concept of time? You know, and can anybody be completely correct about it? Because that very well could be possible, you know, in the whole scheme of
Mm-hmm.
things. I mean,
Yeah.
it might not fit into my lens, but that doesn't mean it's not possible at all. It's not what I'm saying. Uh, that's something I have to peel back a couple layers into. But
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when you talk about time and you actually ask yourself, what is time, right?
mhm,
And where is it coming from? It's more than a clock on the wall, because it's actually coming from the rotations and the orbiting of the solar system is our measurement of it. But what it really is infinite. There is no time, but we take certain measurements and create time. Like if the earth rotates fully, a full rotation, 360 degrees, that is considered to be one day. So our sense of one day comes from a full rotation of the earth.
yes,
Within that one day, we've broken it up into 24 segments,
correct.
and we've created hours, right?
Yeah,
So that's where we derive that time from, because the sun is rising and falling, and you get a day with the earth rotating once. If the moon goes around the earth one full orbit, roughly we refer to that as a month. So that is another unit of time we've derived from the orbit. Orbit, if the earth goes fully around the sun, that's 1 year. So what we call physical time is created by the orbit of the planet Earth and the moon in the solar system. So we have time. So my question is, what if everything stopped moving? What happens then?
well, I mean, yeah, yeah. I, I don't know, man. I don't know because I mean, if we're talking about time measured by the Earth's rotation and what the moon is doing, and then we go out into another solar system or out into this universe, um, and we're talking about extraterrestrials, that don't really matter to them, right? You know, I mean, as far as measurement of time, right? If we're measuring by one thing and they're measured by something else, that are maybe not on even the same scale, then how you know?
Yeah, no, I don't think we fully understand time.
Yeah, I don't think
But
we all do either. I mean, it's just like it's really impossible when you think about it. Like, do you get what I'm saying? Like, if we like they had a movie. I don't know if it was called Interstellar or what, but it was. I think it was Matthew McConaughey, and
I might have seen it.
he went out
I probably saw it.
on a rocket for like however much time, maybe like a year or something like that,
Okay.
and then he came back and I think time had sped up down here on Earth or whatever. And I think his daughter was grown or something. So, because they were trying to capture
Oh,
him.
they were lost. They were lost in space, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And then when
Yeah,
they
no, I
got back,
remember
everybody was like,
that.
oh, but he didn't really age, but his daughter was grown. So,
I remember that. Yeah, that's an interesting illustration of how time might actually operate.
And then, you know, Einstein had a theory about like the two twins or something like that. Have you ever heard this?
No.
It's like two twins. Yeah, well, essentially, it's the same. I think that's probably where they got the idea from the movie, honestly. One twin stays on Earth, identical twins born at the same time. One stays on the Earth, one gets shot up in a rocket. When he comes back, I think one's a year older or something like that.
Yeah, yes. See, we just don't understand how time operates there. And what about the idea of like black holes or wormholes? Wormholes that allow you to travel from one place in the universe or cosmos to the other. Imagine if that was possible, like a rip in the fabric of time, like a shortcut in alley. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And the theory, and what I'm hearing is that Einstein's theory of relativity says that that's possible. Wormholes are possible. So, man, like when it comes to that and time and all that, it can be mind blowing. And even talking about it right now, it's such a big topic. And I guess what we're really trying to get at, like one thing that I try to kind of communicate is that, and I don't know what your thoughts is, I believe in a place where time does not exist, like an infinite place,
It has to be
the spiritual dimension.
because, like, everything that we're measuring is not infinite, you know. So but something has to be almost like observing us, right?
Yeah.
Something has to be like you pour. I don't know if way I see it, like I don't know. It's just like yeah,
Yeah, no, it's such a like a topic that you can dive so deep into. But yeah, brother. I mean, we could probably go all day on time.
yeah. But this is right on time.
It's right on time, brother. So now that we're here on the planet Earth and we've got all this time, how can we stay motivated and do something with it to reach our fullest potential? How do we develop like the no excuse mindset? How do
Well,
we unlock ourselves to reach like true success?
well, you know, this almost is like a philosophical episode. Almost maybe we'll call this one the Philosopher's Stone, because time, extraterrestrials, success, all things, especially success more than all of them, is you got to define it for yourself. You know, you have to begin to define success for yourself. Like, what does success mean for each individual? Like, what does
Yes.
it mean for you personally, financially, and in a relationship, in relationships, in that relationship. Like, and then once I think each person has to figure out what that means to them before anybody can help them on their path of gaining that. Because if you say, hey, Yogi Infinite, make me successful, and you say,
Yeah.
hey, here's $1 million and here's some books that's going to get you there, but that's not what that individual was seeking after when you're talking about success.
No.
So the first step of putting on a no excuse mindset is getting in some damn direction
Yes.
of what in defining. Like we've had so many conversations, brother. Great conversations. Words are power. So you not only need to understand what words define success for you. What words
Yes.
define that what you're after. Is it love? Is it passion? and what, you know, and now what in this material world aligns with them power words that you have for yourself. What about you?
Does success
Go ahead.
does success mean happiness? Can you be successful and unhappy? Is it possible? Or do you have to be happy to be success? Is
I don't
true
think you can.
success happiness?
Yeah, I don't think well, you shouldn't be. I mean, if you defined it yourself, and if it's coming from a place and you actually did a drill where you say, like, let's say, for instance, when I'm doing mindset coaching, I'm like, what does success mean to you? Right? We're going to define that. Then why do you want to be successful? Going several levels deep on why this person wants to be successful and why it's important to them. And when you go so deep, really everything, you're attaching that to your success now. So happiness is there because your success is not only rooted, it's not a self-centered thing.
Yes.
It's rooted in so many causes of giving back and being a part of this, this world and this earth. So, you should be. I mean,
You should be happy
you have
if
to
you're
be
successful.
if it's success, if it's true
Because
success.
there's that old quote about happiness that happiness is not contained in what you have. It's contained in what you become. So if that's true, if happiness is contained in what you're becoming, then true success would be constantly working towards something, constantly working towards a new goal or becoming a new person. Would you agree that true success and happiness comes from the hustle, not
Oh yeah.
enjoying it?
You see the hat man?
Yeah.
I definitely agree. I agree. Because to settle is to gradually sink. Staying the same.
Getting comfortable.
Huh?
Getting comfortable.
Getting comfortable. You thinking you quote unquote made it, and
Yeah.
you're not going to see what you could fully do. Another thing that's important to me as an individual, no matter what type of success that one reaches or things that an individual have done or how much you're able to give back. Let's say somebody says that's good, right? Let's say I say,
Yeah.
Yogi Infinite, I gave $100,000, right? You say, oh,
Okay.
that's good. By whose stick is that good by? Because if I still have but what if I had the capacity to give 1 million and to raise 1 million,
Yeah.
or to encourage people to give 1 million or 10 million? I'm just putting it in money because it's easy to do that, right? But if I
No, I
set
totally understand. It's by your measuring stick.
by
You're
by your
always
measure
competing with yourself.
yourself, you're running your race, and if you still have the ability to do and become, and it's like you say, becoming will define you because you're constantly becoming. What more can I do? What I'm still here for a reason. What more can I give to humanity? Maybe it's love, maybe it's kindness, maybe it's just a gift, maybe it's the gift of knowledge and wisdom. Like, what more can I do?
Significance comes from contribution.
Yeah.
You can't feel significant and you can't feel happy by take, can you?
No, you can't.
It's take more. In fact, you feel guilty about it because you feel so helpless at times. But giving, man, that's a natural high right there.
Man,
Gratitude.
giving.
Man, I remember I was in a position where I couldn't give $1 to someone. I remember those days. Now, you know, 10, $20 isn't enough at times. I wish I had more,
Yeah.
just someone random on the street.
Obviously we're putting in money, but it's not all about money. Like, what if you
No.
could give a person some words of, like, can you imagine, like, if somebody, well, because you do personal development, you read and stuff like that too as well. But if a sentence or one word or in exchange with a stranger, uh, a smile, a kind look, some positive energy coming their way, that is worth more than any money that you could give somebody. and could ultimately lead to their success. There was a story, a lady I was working with, and she had went to New York City, and she seen a Broadway play.
Yes.
And this guy, he had committed suicide, but they had
Yes.
to investigate it like a homicide to find out what had happened to this man.
Yes.
Everybody that he encountered on this day that he committed suicide, he had a negative encounter with. He had went to the diner. The waitress treated him bad. He had a nasty exchange with his brother that owed him money, treated him bad. Everything added up, but in the end, he had committed suicide. So I said, wow, that was such a powerful play. So did he really commit suicide, or did they slowly kill him off where he didn't feel like he had any purpose in life?
Yeah.
You know, so much of what we do on a daily basis affects others, but we got to get out our own way and unleash everything, unleash our full potential out into the world. Just a smile, just going
Because
to
the
work and working your hardest.
because the universe is a mirror. And you know how you invest in the stock market? You invest $1, and all of a sudden it turns into $2. You put in $100, it turns into $200. You go out and you give somebody a smile, they smile back at you. It makes you feel twice as good as you would just normally on your own with something. You give somebody a compliment, you know what I mean? They say, "Oh, thank you." It's another uplifting moment. You have a great conversation with someone, and they engage you, you engage them, you do somebody a favor, they thank you or whatnot. You're building up your vibrations, your spiritual energy when you do that. And when you start interacting like that, it becomes like a snowball down a mountain. You start chatting more. Hello, how's it going? You start meeting people. And the law of attractions, one of the key things to gain what it is that you desire is by meeting people that can help you. And you have to be responding to things around you because there's energy. So respond to that energy, respond to people, meet new people that'll raise your vibrations, and you'll get closer towards your goal, and you will accomplish your goal if that's the way that you operate.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh, yeah. Because it's like you said, it's like we talked about before about stopping and smelling the roses. You're
Yeah,
passing by people, you never stop and experience. There's 7 billion people on the planet plus, but you never stop and smell the roses. You never stop and see what the person at the park has to offer, or what their story.
exactly. You've got to have the higher level of thought to do that. You've got to be on a little bit of a different level, because if you're struggling to pay the bills, and when you put your head down on the pillow, you're thinking about money. When you wake up in the morning, you're thinking about money and the bills. If that's the mode that you're in, then you will never take those moments to stop and talk to people, because you're constantly worrying. Do you agree? Have you ever been in that mode, growing up or whatnot, or just in the past where things weren't going so well and money became an issue?
Yeah.
And that's literally all you can think about.
Yes.
That's like the survival mode.
Yes.
And how can you smell the roses when you're in that mode? So
Yeah.
part of it, you've got to make room for it. You've got to become woke, get some personal development in, and only then can you get out of that survival mode and get into that more secure mode where now you're paying your bills. You have more time. You're not constantly worried about one thing. Now you can open up, have more conversations with more people, and really get out there. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I do agree. Yes, I do agree. Yeah. Yes, I do agree. You gotta be, and then I think once people quit thinking about the money begins to flow, because it's not, you know, it's not about the money, you know. Yes, because you're thinking about it all the time and it's hard to get by. But when you start experiencing other people, let's say if I'm struggling with money, but I'm not experiencing life either, while I'm stopping and hearing other people's songs and their stories and understanding them, somebody could have had a good job for you. You
Yes.
you walked that whole park with your head down, didn't talk to
Yes.
anybody, was
Yes.
pissed off, and guess what? There was a guy walking at the park and he owns a company. Or he's
Uh-huh.
a manager, or he knows about a company that's hiring.
Mm-hmm.
They have a job for you, but you didn't talk to people, you know. So
No.
I mean, I can understand where somebody's at, where all they think about is money, so it doesn't allow them to rise spiritually. But if you're open to rise spiritually at any point, you're going to rise at all points in your other aspects of life if you're open to receive it. Because you could be at a very low level financially and be open to receive a spiritual blessing, and it just starts overflowing and pour out your way. So you just have to
Yes.
be open and begin to experience people, and be thankful that you have the opportunity to experience the person at the gas station, the grocery store, wherever.
Yes. Yes, because see, I'm staring at your hat while you were just expressing yourself there, and the word that stuck out to me was mindset. Because when for everybody out there that is maybe kind of drowning right now, or just barely keeping their head above water with paying your bills, I know there's a lot of unemployment right now. We're going through a tough time. This is a situation that Brahman was talking about there, um, of being around people who could have opportunities for you, um, while you're worrying about, unfortunately, the things you need to worry about, where your next, maybe, who knows, maybe next meal is coming from, where your next kind of check is coming from, how you're going to pay the bills, how you're going to keep the lights on. That thought process is taking up a lot of your valuable cognitive resources. And what you really should be thinking about is, how can I create more opportunities? So somehow you've got to free up your thought process for a little bit of personal development, so you can actually have the thought, hey, maybe that person can help me. I should approach them and strike up a conversation. So it all starts in the mind, which is why I refer back to that book that I showed last week called Think and Grow Rich. The change happens in your mind. It's not going to happen on the job one day, unless you come up with some crazy invention that you sell for a few $1 million. But it's all your mindset.
If their mind's not right, you're gonna lose a few $1 million though. So
Yeah. Yeah, man.
they've seen it. People hitting the lottery worse off, worse off than ever before, because the mind was not right. You didn't have a chance to
Yes.
get your mind right. You're really actually more fortunate if you have to work to make that million than you are if somebody just gifted you that million, because you worked
Yeah.
up to it. You had
You know
to
what that
get your mind right. Go ahead.
kind of reminds me of is
What?
people back in the day. You ever know like somebody that did like a lot of steroids
Mm,
and they were kind of skinny, then all of a sudden they got huge?
yeah.
It's kind of like when people inherit $1 million and they got a lot of money and they're the big man. You know what I mean? He took steroids. He's huge. Then you go and meet that guy, like maybe like 4 years later, and you see him and he's like all skinny and got like a flabby belly and his skin looks all pale and stuff like that. And you're like, what happened to that guy? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It is because he never earned it.
You sped it up. You took a alley and you didn't really actually practice the healthy habits. Another one is the surgeries now. Right now, you see the surgeries more en masse than that. You know,
Oh,
cocaine
really?
and steroids were the 70s and 80s in bodybuilding. Now you have in the gym world, you have the gastric bands, which is great if you're really heavy. It allows you to
What do
lose.
you do there?
Well, it like ties up your stomach. So your
And then
stomach
what?
smaller. So by a drinking something, you don't eat that much, and you just start losing weight.
Really? Is that healthy?
I mean, I don't know yet, man. I think we're gonna find out that it's not so healthy, but they're doing it a lot right now. I prefer, just discipline, good old fashioned discipline, and trying to do as much as you can and get that weight down off of you, because the band's not on your stomach before. So I mean, I just don't like things that you have to add to your body to get some type of desired results. I think it could be harmful to you down the road, but that's just my personal opinion. Um, but that quick fix
It's everywhere.
without the discipline is going to lead to disaster. A fool and his money shall surely part ways. Why? Don't know how to do it. Don't know what to do with it. Don't know that maybe I should ask somebody what I should do with this money now that I got it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. Exactly. Definitely, man. That's why we're here. That's why we reach out to people, is to teach them how to succeed and share our secrets as well, because we're on the grind as well. I mean, we both have dreams and goals where we want to go, and we're motivated. We're moving towards it every day. We share with each other. We share with our fans, and that's the name of the game, is how to reach that top level where you know that you've reached your maximum potential.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
And be around people that's maximizing each other. Continue to stay around people that's going to keep you at the higher level, man.
I agree. All right. Well, I think we probably coming to the end of our podcast here. So I'm wondering if you've got a tip for our viewers.
But
You talked about. Go ahead.
I want you to give them a tip.
I'll give you a tip, because we talked about money just a while ago, and I'll give a tip to anybody right now who maybe is experiencing problems with their income, and maybe you can't save a lot right now, and you're asking yourself, how can I get out of this situation? What I can say to those people is just what I was talking about earlier. It all starts in the mind, and I would start thinking about, how much money do I want to make? That's a really good question. Or you can ask yourself, what do I do really well? What would people pay me to do? And try it out. Go do this service for free for someone and ask them, would you pay this much for it? If I did this as a business, get some feedback. Then, based on the feedback you get about how much somebody would pay you for this service, determine how many times you would have to do this service to equal how much money you would want to make in one day, 1 week, or 1 year. Quantify it, put it down on a piece of paper. Then go work on whatever that skill is that you determined that you have, that somebody would pay for, and you even determined a dollar amount of how much they would pay for it. Go back, work on that skill, and get so good at that skill that you can charge so much for it, that the thing you used to charge $20 for, you now charge $100 for, and then you charge $500 for, then $1,000, then $2,500, $5,000, $10,000. You now charge for this skill. Call it a high income skill. That's what you can start on right now, is determining what that skill is and the best way to turn that into a service and charge for it. That's my tip for this week right now on how you can start building your empire.
I love it, man. That's perfect. I love that. That's great advice.
Man, I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you liked it. I might have to take my own advice and go and work a little bit on my own high income skill.
Definitely. There you go.
Until I'm making that amount that I want, and I know that there's a lot of zeros behind it, brother.
Spiritual consultations now available.
No. Well, they are. DM me, and we can make it happen.